let's finish up with the remaining choices of our connectors. We've now designed all four sides of our connector here. Now we need to ask ourselves, how would we like this to appear whenever we're in a takeoff? You will notice that all of the connectors we add to our fittings are what you see, what you get. We have designed a slip and drive connector here. You will notice, as we have a 2D preview, that this is what it will look like in the flat. If we click on 3D preview, we now need to decide how we would like it to look. We have the choice of raw edge, flange in, out, hammerlock, and so on. You can read the choices. Since this is a slip and drive edge that we've created, we're going to click on slip and drive. This will show us what it's going to look like in our takeoff screen. I click on save to save the changes. And now we can go out and look at our new connector we've designed. Let's click on a piece of rectangular duct and let's put on our slip and drive connector. Test slip and drive, test slip and drive. You will see, because we have chosen the appearance for 3D to be slip and drive, that we have a slip and drive on both sides. And now we can look at what this looks like in the flat. You can see here as we zoom in that we've added our slip and drive connector. It's a 1/2 inch here, and then a 1/2 inch over and 1 inch up. Now there is one very important question to ask, and that is, when we design a connector, we need to make sure sometimes that the finished length of our duct remains constant. So we need sometimes to be able to notch our connectors into the duct so that the finished length is correct. For example, you'll notice here that our finished length of duct is 59 inches, which is marked right here. If we measure this slip and drive in the flat from one end to another, you will see that the finished length of this duct is 61 inches. We have created a 1 inch connector, and it is added 1 inch to either side. Now many people, when they design connectors like slip and drive, design a 1 inch connector but notch it into the fitting a 1/2 inch, so that when you measure the finished length 59 in the flat, it is a total of 60 inches. If your connector needs to be notched back, there is a place where we can adjust it inside PractiCAM's connector editor. What we're going to do is we're going to exit out, go back to our rectangular connectors, and go to our test slip and drive. Let's put it back on a 2D preview. Focusing on the 2D preview here, you can see a dotted line. This dotted line represents the 0-0 line, or the horizon. It represents this line right here that runs across from one side to the other. If you would like to notch this entire connector into the fitting a 1/2 inch, what you need to do is come over here where it says add and specify 1/2 inch. Watch when I hit the enter key, the fitting notch itself into the horizon. I'm going to press enter now. What this does is it actually keeps a 1 inch connector designed, but it's going to notch it into the fitting a 1/2 inch. If we look at this after we save it, in the flat on the same fitting we had before, we have a 59 inch connector, and let's choose our connector in as test slip and drive and our connector out as test slip and drive. We'll also save it as a default so we can use it again. I'll put it into blanks, one piece, and I'm going to click on the part editor. Now let's measure it now from top to bottom. We have added a 1/2 inch notch back on this connector. You'll notice now, if we measure from one end to the other, that the finished length is now 60 inches. We've taken a 1/2 inch away from each side by typing in a 1/2 inch in our add section in the connectors. This is how we do a notch back. It is very important when you're first designing your connectors that you make sure that you have the correct notch back so that the fitting goes together properly.